Screamer is a game that's been taking up bandwidth in the back of my mind pretty much ever since it was announced. A new arcade racer that wasn't a kart racer was something I didn't know I wanted till I saw it and actually thought about it. I could be wrong, but the only other thing I could think of with any type of notoriety that's out there is Hot Wheels, which is amazing and you should be playing. But most of the market at this time feels saturated with sim or simcade racers. Your Forzas, Gran Turismo, Assetto Corsa, hell, even Test Drive. Which are all cool, I enjoy those games too, but we're missing things like Ridge Racer, and even Need for Speed is gone at the current moment. So a void has been left, and Screamer has come to fill it. And not to mention, this actually isn't a new franchise. It's a remake / modern interpretation of the classic Screamer franchise that I never heard of until now. But hey, that's why remakes exist, at least partially. So, does this reintroduce the franchise in a positive light? Let's find out. What up? I'm Russ. Thanks for stopping by the channel. If you like what you see here, feel free to leave a like and even subscribe to the channel and help your boy live his dream about talking about video games. Very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's get into Screamer. Now I normally like to talk about the story of games first, but kind of want to take a different direction with this one. So follow me here. Now, as I mentioned before, Screamer is a full-on arcade racer. High speeds, boosting, drifting around corners, and blowing shit up. But to say that's all that's going on here would be a huge disservice. Immediately, right out the box, or off the install, Screamer shakes things up with the twist on the vehicle handling that most of us are probably accustomed to. For the most part, everything controls how you think. You know, the gas, the brake, turning, the basics. But Screamer introduces the concept of twin stick steering. Now what the f does that mean? Well, kind of like it sounds. So as you're driving, the left stick, as expected, makes you turn. But in addition, the right stick allows you to initiate and control a crazy drift with just a simple tilt in either direction. I'm not gonna lie, the control scheme for this is kind of jarring and weird to wrap your head around at first, especially combined with everything else you have to manage. But as you play, it quickly becomes second nature and becomes something you aim to master, as despite this being an arcade racer, proper car control is a must. This is not a game where you can just careen your car into a corner and expect it to work out. Your ass will be left in the dust or worse. Understanding slowing down for corner entry and timing the acceleration out for corner exit go a long way. A lot further than what the game itself lets on. Because out of all the tutorials in the game, that is one thing the game doesn't teach you. And speaking of tutorials, there are a ton of other mechanics in the game that are thrown at you. Pretty much all of which have to do with the two resources shown at the top. Sync on the left and entropy on the right. Sync builds up over time, but that can be expedited a bit by driving at top speed without hitting shit, or by executing active shifts at the right time, which also give you a short burst of speed in the process. Once your sync builds up enough, you're able to take advantage of boosting and shielding yourself, because, well, we aren't just racing. We're committing first-degree murders out here. That's where the entropy meter comes in. Once you build this one up enough, you can use it to perform strikes, basically ramming the hell out of anyone in front of you and KOing them momentarily. Not only that, but it can also be used as a short secondary boost strategically. Now, if you manage to fill this thing up, a technique called overdrive becomes available to you, where your car basically becomes a battering ram with the increased grip and speed of an F1 car. But the one problem is if you so much as sniff a wall, I guess in that way it's balanced, but I hit the wall like 54 times per race. So needless to say, I didn't enjoy using it. To build up this entropy meter though, you have to use the other one, and that introduces an interesting decision during races and trials. Do you spam boost and shields to build up striking power to take people out? Do you focus more on driving quick and efficiently, using boost at the right portions of the track and shielding only when targeted? Or do a mix of both? Now, something else I do appreciate is the roster of different vehicles. There's only 18 vehicles in total, which probably sounds criminal compared to a slew of other racing games out there. Each is assigned to a specific character, and some of which definitely getting away with some likeness infringement. And of course, you just know one of the black characters had to be in a fucking Charger.
I'll show you how it's done.
At least the developers acknowledge the culture. But it's not about that. More so, it's about how much different each one is from the next. No one vehicle drives the same. They may have similar driving characteristics depending on the team they belong to. For instance, the SFR cars all generally excel at drifting, but lack in straightaway speed. The Jupiter cars have incredible corner grip and don't like to slide around. The Green Reaper cars are fairly well-rounded, and the Anaconda Corp vehicles whoop basically everybody in straight line speed. Just don't try to turn. On top of that, every character has a special ability they can utilize during the race. I'm not gonna bother going through them because of the sheer number, but all this plays into how you drive each car and even who you choose to play as, given you have the choice and the track that you're about to tackle. There are 32 tracks available along with the option to race them mirrored, so really 64 tracks if you think about it that way. They span several different regions including city streets, launch bases in the middle of the desert, Japanese-inspired mountain roads, and even a fucking space station. Each track is graded on its difficulty to maneuver around, starting at C and going all the way up to SSS. They're all generally really fun to drive around and provide enough challenge to make it feel rewarding when you make that perfect turn or hit that new lap record. Some even feature shortcuts like racing games of old. Now, there are several different race types that you'll engage with. Of course, you have your standard normal races with the main goal of finishing in first place. But then there are team races where you compete as duos or even trios. And here it's not as simple as just finishing in first place. In these races, you're racing for points. And the team with the highest cumulative here we go again. And the team with the highest cumulative, this southern accent of mine is freaking killing me right now. And the team with the highest cumulative score is victorious. I don't know if I said that right, but we're gonna roll with it. Now, the easiest way to do that is to finish in the top spots, as you gain more points the higher you finish. But additionally, there was more emphasis on taking out the competition, as points are also awarded from KOs. So because of that, finishing up front may not be enough. A team could finish lower, but because they wrecked the whole field multiple times over, they got more overall points. So you end up having to make choices depending on how the race is playing out. If you have the speed, do you make passes and finish ahead? If your teammates are lagging behind, do you fall back and try to make up points by KOs? Or are you the weak link and you try to help your team in whatever way possible? It's a really different and fun way to play the game, as it challenges you to get into the mindset of not just being the fastest, but also being a team player. Next is the overdrive challenge, which is essentially just seeing how long you can go in overdrive without hitting a wall. Checkpoint, which is something we've seen before, where you just see how many checkpoints you can get through before the time runs out. Time attack, another standard mode where you aim for the fastest time on any given track. And lastly, the arcade exclusive mode score challenge, where basically you go through a number of rounds to achieve the best score you can. These rounds consist of races, 1v1 duels, and other challenges. The catch here is that you get to choose your challenge for each round, with each choice varying in difficulty. Of course, the more difficult it is, the more points it pays out if you succeed. It's pretty neat, and some races can prove to be fairly difficult. As far as game modes go, you have the arcade that consists of basically everything I just explained, but it also lets you tweak a surprising amount of settings to run races the way you want. Like, how many competitors do you want? Which characters can be used? How many laps, of course? Are you going to allow character skills, overdrive usage, or fighting at all? Do people that suck get a buff? And even more alongside that. And then there's multiplayer, which was kind of shocking. Because they're split screen, and up to 4 players no less. When's the last time you saw that?
It's been so long.
Again, there's normal races and team races that you can do together or on separate teams. And on top of that, it runs surprisingly well. I was expecting a slideshow at the very least, but no, the frame rate, minus a few hiccups here and there, was consistently smooth. Kudos to that, even though I doubt many people will or have touched this mode in general. It's kind of a shame. Of course, there's online with a ranking system attached to team races, private lobbies, and what they call Screamer Mixtape, which is just essentially an open lobby. And the people that do play this game, because I didn't run into too many honestly, but those that are there are pretty fucking good. I'm out here getting lapped wondering how the hell are these people going so fast? I got a long way to go to be good at this thing apparently. But in addition to the competitive modes, there's still quite a bit of other content to keep you motivated in playing. And most of it stems from Gage's workshop and the gallery. Gage's workshop houses the game's vehicle customization. And right off the bat, I gotta say that the options here genuinely surprised me. Games like this typically only allow you to change the color of the vehicle. Not here. Not only can you change the color schemes of each vehicle to some vastly different looks, but there are also several different parts available for basically every visible aspect of the car. All the parts and colors come in complete sets, but you are allowed to mix and match them from different sets to make your own unique machine. And the reason I say as content to motivate you, maybe, is because you will have to play the game a lot to unlock this stuff. Like complete specific races with specific characters 50 times in some instances, just to name an example. And the same rings true for the gallery. As you play, you will unlock artwork of the cars, track concepts and backgrounds, replays of the in-game cutscenes, and best of all, you get to listen to this game's rockin' soundtrack. This smacks, yo. When you can sit on the damn menu for 5 minutes straight just listening. You know that is good. And just like the cars, each team has a specific sound and each character theme falls in line with that sound. And they all fit perfectly in my opinion. The rock angst of the Green Reapers, the dark brooding sound of Anaconda Core, the futuristic sound of the Jupiters, and of course the J-pop. Soundtrack is consistently hyped, getting you pumped for every single event and never lacks. Is banger after banger after banger
after banger after banger.
And sticking with audio, the sound design of all the cars is immaculate. Each vehicle sounds unique and powerful, especially as you constantly bang them off the rev limiter throughout 90% of a race. Now this game does have a story mode called The Tournament, and I saved talking about it till now because, well, it's the most conflicting part of the game for me. Out of all the bright spots of the game, the story is kind of a dim one. So to get into it, the overall setting is that there's a Screamer tournament being set up by this mysterious figure, Mr. A, who looks like he wants to be Char from Gundam. It's basically a series of illegal street races with multiple teams competing against each other, and that winning team will be awarded $100 billion. The story is told from the perspective of all the teams in the tournament and each character within those teams. As you progress the story, you'll learn the motivations behind why each team is entering and even how some of those characters got in the position they are currently in. The thing is though, hardly any of this is interesting. First of all, all the characters kind of suck. And I don't mean suck as in like badly written. They just suck as a person. She's a bitch, he's a corporate sheep, and he's fake as hell. Seriously, this guy and his car.
This thing is such a piece of shit. Oh my god, turn! God damn it.
There's nobody to really get behind, and maybe that's the point. But then what's motivating me to keep playing? Only a few seem to have normal sense in a sea full of crazy people. Shout out my boy Frederic, my fellow fangirl Lavinia, and the goddamn announcer, because she's the only one that seems to have it all together whatsoever.
What? Warum?
Oh, shoot. Let me check my notes. Let's see. Ah, yeah, there it is. Right there. It says, none of your damn business.
And you know what? Noburo too. He's pretty cool once he gets his together. A lot of the dumb conflict in the story seems like it could easily be solved if characters would just get their head out of their ass and have a civilized conversation instead of making threats and throwing insults left, right, and center. Which ironically is the best part of these conversations, if I'm honest. At least they made me laugh.
Oh no. She took a deep breath.
何度も周回遅れにして、あんたが死んだ日に警視官があんたの肺の中から私の
The beginning and the end of the story are the most interesting parts of it. That's where the most substance is, and it feels like the narrative is actually building towards something. The middle does the opposite. So much time is spent on these side stories that don't matter in the grand scheme to build up characters that still suck and or don't get the payoff. And it just feels like a giant waste of time. And this is a big portion of the story too, that's not helped by how it's presented to you. When you start it up, you're graced with this dope and really stylistic opening cutscene, followed by a decent looking anime style cutscene introducing what you could probably consider the main group of protagonists. And you're like, wow, this is what I'm in for? Sign me up. Nope. The whole story is basically told through these text box conversations with these shifting images. Even at some points, it's so abrupt that I'm like, did you guys run out of budget or something? Luckily, all these conversations are voice acted, with a catch.
Gregor, रुको, मैं इसे हैंडल कर सकती हूँ.
Sicher, aber JSI will mit dir reden. Es ist dringend.
Not every character speaks English. They're pulling a Tekken here where every character speaks their own native language and everybody just understands it, although they do explain it here. But still, unless you know all the multiple languages that are in the game, now you have to read all the text to know what's going on. And no, this is not a knock on having to read. The issue I have is that there's a lot of dialogue in the game, and a lot of it is just not interesting or downright pointless sometimes. Like, it's a problem when I set the text to just auto scroll, and I know that I need to pay attention and read, and I still don't because I'm not interested in what these people have to say. It even bleeds into the gameplay a bit, since sometimes characters will say lines as you're driving, but again, you may not understand them, so you have to take your eyes off the track and focus on the text bubble in the corner of the screen, possibly messing up your rhythm in the process. It's a very bizarre choice to me. I do commend the inclusivity and exhibition of other languages as a core element of the story, but it does hamper the consumption of it. And talking about consumption, the story proceeds episodically, or at least what this game likes to call episodic. Overall, there are 4 chapters to the story, really 5, but 4 playable, that are compiled with a bunch of mini episodes within them. And each of those is generally composed of some opening dialogue, followed by some sort of racing event, and then possibly capped off by even more dialogue. And they last around 5 to 10 minutes maybe, possibly 15, depending on how good you are. But herein lies the problem, at least for me. As fun as the driving and racing is, the story almost does its best just to put things in the way of that. You'll get 3 to 4 minutes of talking, then 2 to 3 minutes of actual driving, giving you clear the event in one go, and possibly 1 to 2 more minutes of talking after that, per episode. And mind you, There's like 70 episodes in total. Not to mention, there are several episodes that are just straight dialogue and no gameplay whatsoever. So you can see how all that builds up. And you end up sitting more than actually playing. Now, before you say anything, yes, you can skip the talking right from the start and get right into the driving, but it's a story mode. Why would you want to do that? You shouldn't want to do that. At least not only your first run through of the thing, but like I said before, over half the story feels irrelevant. So you're sitting through a bunch of conversations that have little to no implications on the main plot. And unfortunately, some of that applies itself to the actual racing portions too. Many of the races you complete just don't have any meaning to them. Like, I asked the question several times after completing these events, what did this race actually build towards? What you do isn't even alluded to in the following conversation sometimes. So it leaves you feeling like, what was the point of what I just did? But on the other hand, they can also do some cool things with these race events, like alter or limit the driving mechanics to mimic a character's mental state. Each race has one or more tasks for you to accomplish. It can range from finishing in the top 3, taking down a number of opponents, to boosting a certain number of times. And with that, they do a good job of trying to switch things up from you just driving to achieve first place all the time. And some of them can be quite challenging. Borderline frustrating given the combination of track, car, and what you're expected to do.
This car, man!
So my final verdict on Screamer. It's really fun and refreshing. I think if you are a fan of the more arcade, high-octane style of racing games, this definitely is something that should be on your radar to check out. And if what you've seen in this video looks fun to you, I'd follow that instinct. Soundtrack, fire. Audio design, fire. Visuals, fire. Gameplay, fire. The pure driving has the simple to learn, difficult to master allure to it. Then you add all the chaos on top of that with the fighting and the resource management, and you're in for a dynamic racing experience almost every time. And with all the stuff to unlock in the garage and the gallery, you'll be doing it for quite a while, if that's your cup of tea. The only letdown, again, is the story mode. 1, because I was surprised to see it, and 2, because it started out with so much promise. Now, I don't mean to make it sound horrible because it's really not. There's definitely fun to be had with it, but to me, it drags and gets in the way of the fun of racing a little too much. I think the balance of story and gameplay needs to be readjusted a bit. However, it does serve as a good streamlined way to understand and test drive every mechanic of the game. At one point, it feels like a tutorial is popping up every single race. And coinciding with that are a slew of options to adjust the game to your liking, including difficulty for story and arcade, control remapping, and a few accessibility options like one-handed controls, which I don't know how that works, but it is there, and tinnitus filters. I didn't even know what tinnitus was till I looked it up. So a lot of things to love, a few things to be wary of, and full of surprises. Those are my thoughts on Screamer. But what about you? If you played it, let me know what you thought about it. And if you haven't, did this video make you want to spend or save 60 bucks? Let me know in the comments. I'm always curious of other people's opinions, respectfully. As always, thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you like content like this and want to see more, as well as help the channel grow, feel free to subscribe, like, and share the video. Very much appreciated. And yeah, that's gonna do it for me. I'm Russ, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.